Hi, today's story is for Maxwell, Emily and Abigail. I loved watching your ball games carnival this week. Today's story is called Little People, Big Dreams, I Can Be an Astronaut, and it's a story about Neil Armstrong and Sally Ride. You're about to meet two of the world's greatest astronauts. Both had their own hopes, fears, joys, and challenges, and their own unique dream. Their stories show that if you follow your own dream and believe in yourself, you can do anything. And there's a picture of Neil Armstrong on the moon on an old TV. I Can Be an Astronaut, Neil Armstrong. Written by Maria Isabel Sanchez Vegara, illustrated by Christophe Jacques. Neil was a boy from Ohio, USA, who always wanted to be a pilot. He took his first plane ride when he was 6, and he got his pilot's license before he could even drive a car. Wanting to learn all about planes, Neil studied aeronautical engineering at university and flew planes for a living. Afterwards, he became a hotshot test pilot. He flew a plane high up in the atmosphere, almost to the point where the sky ends and space begins. One day, Neil heard that the government was looking for astronauts for its first human spaceflight missions. It was an amazing opportunity. He applied and got the job. On his first mission, Neil connected 2 spacecraft together, something no one had done before. He almost lost his life when his tiny capsule spun out of control. You see the 2 spacecrafts joined there? He had to make an emergency landing in the middle of the ocean. And there's his little capsule. His achievement showed everyone that Neil had experience, skills, and nerves of steel needed to lead the first space flight to the moon. In July 1969, Neil and his crew blasted off from Earth. It took them almost 4 days to reach the moon. Neil and another astronaut jumped into the lunar module. They had less than 30 seconds of fuel left when they landed on the moon's surface. Neil stepped onto the moon. He said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." And people watched it on TV. He had made history. The astronauts returned to Earth as superstars, but Neil was just happy to get back to work. And today, Neil's footprints are still on the moon, the best tribute to a dreamer who knew that the impossible can become reality with one small step. Can you choose the right path to take Neil and his crew safely back to Earth? Which path do you think it might be? This one, or this one, or this one? The second story is about Sally Ride. I can be an astronaut, Sally Ride. Written by Maria Isabel Sanchez Vegara, illustrated by Alana Milgram. Sally was a fearless girl from USA who was eager to explore the world around her. Sally's parents always encouraged her to reach for the stars in everything she did. Sally soon discovered a love of science. She enjoyed solving tricky maths puzzles and looking at the moon and stars with her telescope. She was studying physics at university when she saw an advert looking for scientists to become astronauts. She beat thousands of others to get the job. The training was hard, but Sally loved every minute of it. She even helped build a giant robotic arm, which worked just like a real arm. So you're doing her training with the parachute and solving problems about the spacecraft, training in her suit. And there's the giant robotic arm that she made. After 5 years, she was chosen to be the first American woman to go into space. Some people didn't think women can handle being an astronaut. Journalists asked silly questions like, did she cry when things went wrong? But it didn't bother Sally because she loved her work and believed in herself. The day finally arrived when her spacecraft blasted off from Earth. Up in space, the stars looked brighter than ever. It's weightless, floating in space, in the spacecraft. During her 6-day mission, Sally did many experiments and used the robotic arm. Looking down on Earth, she realized how precious and fragile our planet is and how humans need to protect it. After 9 years as an astronaut, Sally became a professor of physics studying space. She also started a company to inspire children, especially girls, in science. And as long as there are stars in the sky to reach for, there will always be a place for little Sally in every young scientist's heart. And there's some little activities you can do at the back of the book. It says, can you design your own spacecraft? Draw it here and colour it in. If you went on a space mission like Sally and Neil, where would you like to go? It says, I would go to, my mission would last days, months, years. Would you go for a couple of days, a couple of months, or a year? I would go with this person. I would take my favourite belonging with me. The name of my spacecraft would be. And it's got some words that we learned in the story. Aeronautical engineering. The study of the design of aeroplanes and spacecraft. Test pilot, a pilot who flies new planes to test how well they work. Lunar module, the vehicle that carries astronauts between their spacecraft and the moon. Physics, a branch of science that explores forces such as magnets, motion, how things move, and energy, how things are powered. Mummy teaches physics at school sometimes, and Max has been doing a experiment that is like involves physics at school. He's been making things that spin in his science lessons. In these stories, Neil Armstrong and Sally Ride both become astronauts, meaning they travel into outer space. The word astronaut comes from the Greek words astro meaning star and naut meaning sailor, so it means star sailor. Discuss the meaning of the word astronaut and talk about why we might think of an astronaut as being a star sailor or a star traveller. Sailors sail through the ocean, don't they? And astronauts sail through space. That's pretty cool. I hope you enjoyed today's story. I love you very much. And I've got one more thing today. Emily and Abigail asked to do an experiment with some dried petals that we dried out in a jar of water. So we'll put those in there. Put the lid on and give it a little shake. And they thought that it might make the jar glow. Doesn't look like it's glowing, but if we add in this glow stick, we might get it to glow. Make sure it's sealed. Doesn't look like it's glowing at the moment either, does it? Let's turn the light off and see what happens. Well, the petals aren't glowing, but the glow stick is glowing. Thanks for the experiment idea, girls. I love you all very much. See you soon.